Hello, my name is Jered Sprecher, and this is my presentation for the Florist Artist Group, and it is entitled Making Art in a Hyperfast World. Again, my name is Jered Sprecher, and I'm a University of Tennessee professor of art. Thank you for the invitation to be part of this annual event, and thank you to Nancy Dillon and Margaret Hodge for reaching out to me and all the prep work they have done, and also to all the board members and the work they have done and the volunteers. It's been wonderful to spend time getting to look closely at so many artists' work. And also thank you to the museum for hosting this ambitious exhibition. All right, now I have to warn you to hold on to your seat. I'm going to talk about some destructive forces in this world in which we live. I'm also going to talk about some of the questions that exist in my own work. Then I'm going to pivot to some other artists to bring us home at the end of my talk. So there we go. All right. We might often hear ourselves saying everything is going to hell in a handbasket. Our world is stressed, our environment is polluted, and the climate can flash from flood to drought, hurricanes and blizzards and everything between. Politics are in upheaval and nations rise against nations. We watch it unfold upon the glowing screens that permeate our lives. What are we to do with this constant barrage of images seared into our own minds? It is apocalyptic and it is indeed revealing. This talk will look at artists who are navigating this world. From the perspective of an artist, I'm going to investigate how their artwork navigates this hyper-fast world. In the spring of 2016, I was fortunate to hear the artist Laurie Anderson answer questions after a screening of her film, Heart of a Dog. This wonderful film recounted her life with her beloved dog, Lola Bell, and the loss of this friend. During the Q&A, a young boy asked Laurie Anderson, had she ever been in space? This precocious youngster must have known that Laurie Anderson was the artist in residence with NASA from 2003 to 2005. It was a good question. Laurie Anderson replied that she had been in space. She said, every day on this earth, we are in space. We do not go into space, we are in space. This statement was a revelation to realize that on this green globe that we call the Earth, surrounded by the beautiful blue of refracted light in the oxygen-rich atmosphere, we are indeed always in space. This shift in perspective reminds me of some of the awe-inspiring and potentially destructive forces that surround us. At the equator, the surface of the Earth is spinning at a speed equivalent to 1,000 miles per hour. The Earth is making its elliptical trips around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour. Our solar system whipping around the galaxy at 490,000 miles per hour. If this epic tilt-a-whirl is not enough, look up into the sky towards the night, towards the constellation Leo, okay? We are moving in that general direction at a speed of 872,405 miles per hour towards something called the Great Attractor. We are speeding through the universe, sitting atop a shifting molten sphere of metal. If that is not horrifying and exhilarating and cause you to hold on to your seat and hold on to the very ground on which you stand, I don't know what is. When Laurie Anderson said that we are all in space, she was not kidding. While on this intergalactic thrill ride, we are producing 2.5 quintillion bytes of data every day. From 2017 to 2019, at that point in history, 90% of the data produced by humankind was made in that 2-year period. I do not know whether this is comforting or scary, but only 0.5% of that data that was created was analyzed. How much time have you spent on your laptop or your phone, shared photos with friends, posted on social media, set up your reservations for dinner tomorrow using the app, texting, email, chat, streamed? You got the picture, you took the picture, you posted it, and then we bought a cup of coffee. All more data. I myself speaking to you right now, more data. As I sat down to prepare my thoughts, a glance at any paper highlights a plethora of things to ponder. Our destructive forces are ecological, meteorological, environmental, geological, political, economic, ideological. We keep churning, we keep producing things that both create and destroy. As an artist, I'm stuck in a place between these realms, in awe of our joyride hurtling through time and space, but I am also horrified by our many modes of destruction. I look to other artists, thinkers, and humans to wrestle with these forces. Before I point to them, I have to let you know where I'm coming from. I'm going to use my installation 8.25 minutes to wade into the water. This 2017 installation is a series of 6 vertically suspended paintings centered around a gray-blue rug. On the back of each painting are small notes, drawings, and postcards, even Xeroxes or pages torn from books. Each one is like a little mystery in paper form, stuck on the back of those hanging paintings, almost like revealing the sketchbook of the artist. The image on the face of each painting captures the simultaneous view out of a window into a verdant garden, while also holding a reflection of interior architecture, appearing as if the painting is a double exposure. The picture, plain, mimics glass. It is window, mirror, and all surface. The magenta, cyan, yellow, and black colors to allude to printing technology, and the line by line printing across there mimics the dots and lines that are used in inkjet printing and other technological forms of printing like laserjet, etc. When I began to work on this project in 2016, I was poring over Roman garden paintings from the Villa Livia and in love with this painting. It's a painting in the round. It features plants and trees, and these plants and trees are dotted with fruit and birds. It's a really verdant and lovely picture in the round. This painting seeks to bring the outside in, and the artist and owner seek to hold on to nature. So it's there out of season. It's there when it's too hot to be outside, and it's there in this sort of controlled atmosphere. Also, this quest of looking at Roman wall paintings led me to also look into paintings at Pompeii and the wall decorations and mosaics there. Now, we have these because the eruption of Vesuvius in 79 AD, it encapsulated the whole city in ash and just buried it in just a matter of moments. But it's preserved for us because of that destruction and that loss of life, preserved to be unearthed in the present time. Uh, Additionally, leading to 8.25 minutes, I was looking at modern architecture. So this led me to Philip Johnson's glass house, which is constructed from 1948 to 1949, near the outset of the atomic age. This prescient bit of architecture is magnificent to be in, but maybe not so great to live in. All is on view, whether inside or outside the house. Glass is that operative surface again, where inside and outside meet and everything is revealed. We might think of our own glass windows, the glass we use in our technology, like the screen you're watching this on right now, our scanners, our phones, even the lenses on our glasses and those things that help us daily. So you will notice in, again, 8.25, these glowing bands of colors across the painting, cool blues, cool magentas, and cool yellows. It's like the cool of our digital screens. This banded effect mimics the marks left by climbing and receding floodwaters, a sort of elevation as that happens, as well as degraded digital images and video caused by corrupted code. The title 8.25 minutes is the time that it takes light to travel from the sun to the earth. You are invited to stay, to say it's beautiful, to bask in the radiating explosion of sun and the bloom of trees. But what is next? Is this location safe? Can you remain here? Is this place designed to entice the viewer to remain still in place, to ponder? This hyperfast world in which we live can feel like an immense jumble of information and even cataclysmic activity. I'm just going to roll through a couple of images of different works of mine so you can get a sense of that. It also gives us an uncertainty, reminds us of our own human frailty. It may cause us to yearn for something else, or perhaps even a distant memory or a place that we long for, a place that we look for in the past or hope for in the future. We look for familiar forms, but those forms may feel slippery, fragmented, and even hard to grasp. What should we focus on? What should we hold on to? There's so much information, so much going on. What is solid? What is real? What is truthful? What is something that we can hold on to? There are many facets that we encounter, many things, and there's so much information coming at us. Yet we can be in awe. We can stand in front of something, whether it's a small thing like a flower, or standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon, or staring up at the wide open sky. There's so much that can leave us in awe. This is my 2019 painting, Invisible as Music. I conceived of it as a reflective surface that simultaneously shows large blossoming flowers overlaid with a reflection that contains bits of architecture. This subtle silhouette of my oldest son, which is here on the screen or on the painting itself, this is all imagery that's interspersed within a regular grid that tugs and pulls at the composition. My work plays with this speed and tension. Everything is moving fast, yet there can be stillness. Here's some details. No artist creates in a vacuum. Now I'm going to pivot towards several artists who provide ways for me to think about living and making and being in this hyper-fast world. This is Joel Sartori's, and he's a photographer who's done a project called the Photo Arc, which is sponsored by National Geographic. This is an ongoing project to photograph all captive species that are threatened with extinction. Each animal is photographed against a stark black or white background, chronicling their existence. These images live on in books and video, television, GIFs, even projections on the UN headquarters. Beauty, clarity, readability are central to the work. The images are potent because we know that each species is threatened. The project is a mashup of documenting the species while also presenting them as empathetic portraits with intrinsic dignity. They say, I was here, I walked, slithered, swam, and even flew over this earth. Here's an example. This is one of the images from the project. This is a 6-day-old Malayan tapir. And here's one from Florida, a federally endangered Florida panther named Lucy, which is at the Tampa Lowry Zoo. Walton Ford is another artist that I want to look at. Walton Ford's large-scale drawings of endangered animals use the aesthetic tropes of naturalist drawings and studies that were disseminated through the print mediums of engraving and later lithography. Think of the work of John James Audubon from 1785 to 1851. In these images, the all too real ghost of colonialism and subjugation of land, animals, and people are ever present. We see the animals animated in exquisitely rendered detail, each one a character in an Aesop-like history lesson. If only we could learn. The narrative and legibility are central to the power of these works. This is Falling Bough from 2002. Here you can see Walton Ford in his studio, and this also gives a sense of the size of the work. And sometimes they'll be quite long, 10 feet or more in length. Quite gorgeous work, but also with a lot of meaning embedded in it. This is an image from Diane Fox, a Tennessee-based photographer who has nearly 2-decade-long project photographing taxidermied animals in museum displays. These elegant photos show the lifelike presentation of now deceased specimens situated in museum displays. Fox turns her camera on the artifice and exhibition of these animals within the museum. Reflections on glass, display cases, background scene paintings, and other tropes of display make us aware of this frozen moment. The click of the shutter is one freezing of time, but these animals are also mummified, frozen actors, which in our minds are activated through the help of the diorama and the skill of the taxidermist. The most potent element in this is the confusion of space and place and time in our work. We are part of this conundrum, trying to possess these animals. Knowledge of them is necessitated on their death, but the museum is like a muse, a memorial, and also a mausoleum. It's alive with muses, dead with animals that have now become artifacts. Here's another image of one of Diane's work, this one from Norwich Castle in England. And here's another piece, Forest Life, and this one was taken in Geneva, Switzerland. So you can see this wide-ranging project visiting museums across the globe. So as I'm pondering these destructive forces, I'm thinking of different intellectuals and how they are approaching that. One is Stephen J. Jackson, a professor in the Department of Science and Technology at Cornell University. He has a philosophy of repair. He posits that our natural world has been altered beyond return, but not beyond repair. Repair does not bring us back to the beginning, nor does it create a false future. And it's not a false future achieved technological utopia, in fact. Repair is an ongoing and changing thing. It's a reaction, it's an evolution, it's a mending. Ongoing is the operative term here. What is used and damaged should be repaired, repurposed, reused, or recycled. By saying so and doing so, we're attributing value to it. By value, he's not necessarily talking about meaning or monetary value, though that's part of the exchange. The question becomes a statement about the worth or worthiness of technology and the resources that we have, and our purposes, and for our purposes, also the habitat and species that surround us. What might it mean for our technology to have a longer, more dignified life? And how can we treat our environment with that type of stewardship? Another intellectual that's come out with an interesting book is Donna J. Haraway. And she has a book entitled Staying with the Trouble. This book is filled with paradoxes that confront us. And as we view the environment and endangered species, we should not necessarily be filled with despair nor hope, but rather we should stay with the trouble. We should not despair that our proactive actions will amount to nothing, but we should also be mindful to stay with the troubles, to be present, to listen, to lend, to aid, to learn, to grow, to compost, recycle, to repair, to rethink, treating every kind as our kin. She warns against a misplaced hope and again, that technological salvific answers. We're not going to necessarily invent or compute our way out of our problems. But technology and science are collaborators with us, but not the whole answer. So, like a blues song, she encourages us to stay with the trouble, living and working and coexisting in the now. Another artist that I'd love to introduce to you is Andy Rosen. Now, Andy Rosen is definitely an artist who stays with the trouble. I find myself looking at a recent project by this Maine-based artist, and that work is entitled Tread from 2018. It's an installation of 2 sculptures of deer that are placed in tidal waters in Portland, Maine. Rosen states about Tread, Tread was subjected to the rising and falling of the tides. Throughout the tide cycle, the animals would appear to be walking on the seabed, swimming, walking on water, and then totally submerged. I wanted to juxtapose our romantic imaginings of deer in the sea against the reality of the raw power of the ocean. 2 creatures struggle to make do in a foreign setting amidst a backdrop of the coming and going of tourists from enormous cruise ships. Rosen's work here, as he's talking about it, is its power lies in its precarity. We witness over time from different vantage points, pier, boat, beach, cruise boat, 2 deer whose perceived state depends on the rising and falling of the tide. Here's another more recent work by Andy Rosen, which he was considering the title of greeter for. He even humorously imagined this as a greeter at your local Walmart. Here you can even see how he's working in his studio, and you can see how he's thinking about it and even ruminating on the possibility of displaying it atop this plastic milk crate. Maya Lin is another artist I'd like to point to. She reminds us of the beauty of rivers and the delicate lines that they trace across our landscape as they link us through travel, through industry, food, recreation, and resource. For this particular work, recycled silver is used to provide a virtual sky-high view of this fragile interlacing waterway. Silver Upper White River here from 2014 is a large piece, 131 inches by 240 inches. Lori Nye is another artist who I'd point to. The artist Lori Nye picks up a brush and fuses observation, memory, and imagination in lush colors and lyric forms. The paintings are memory, they're also dreams, and they're also hopes. They reject a surrender to the woes of this world, but alas, reflect the light of the sun and the human imagination and even hope. Here you can see another one of Lori Nye's works, and it shows this tree. It's evocatively titled Mama's Tree in Calico Colors. So it harkens to something, maybe a remembered past, but also through its colors and through its lyricism, provides a hopeful and positive way of viewing the world. Another artist that we should look at is Anne Gale. This is one of her portraits, and here you can see the sort of presence of the city. Have you ever sat with someone over a cup of coffee? What does it mean to know someone? Have you held a grieving person's hand? Has someone held yours? Anne Gale's portraits are paradoxes. They flicker with light and color. The materiality of the paint and the subject assert themselves. Edges appear and disappear. Ultimately, these paintings are a testament to being in a room with another person, understanding them as a miracle and a mystery, just like you and me. Martin Puryear, a sculptor, artist born in 1941, and particularly Martin Puryear's practice is based in a sensitive use of traditional materials, such as wood, metal, and stone. This is coupled with an exquisite craftsmanship that summon evocative form out of the raw material and traditional hand tools. Each elegantly wrought piece gives body to a poetic utterance and draws on the deep well of human experience. In this work, entitled Brunhild from 1998, he uses cedar and rattan, and it creates this basket-like form, but it's also a cage-like form. It's, nearly sort of person size that it could, encapsulate an individual. There's a certain contemplation that Martin Puryear consistently evokes in his work, and it asks us to ask questions, to observe, to describe, and to begin to unpack what these sculptures are. Here's Shackled from 2014. It's iron, and it's evocative of the chains of slavery, and ask us, will you stand and watch with me? Will you stand by? Will you do something? How do we hold things together? And can you feel the weight of history? Here the iron literally is that weight of history embodied. Can you feel that? In the execution of the work, Martin Puryear always achieves this. There's a grace amidst the weight, sculptural and otherwise. Bringing things to a close. In Proverbs, it says that there's nothing's new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. Here's a drawing by Albrecht Dürer. He sat down sometime in the 1500s and made this exquisite watercolor. If you read his biography, you'll find out that he felt at times that his world was crashing in around him. In fact, it may have felt hyper fast to him. Yet he sat and looked and put this message in a bottle for you and I to see. Here we are rocketing through space, looking at images, burning as we go. So what is important is that there is not always one way that artists can or should engage in the world and through their practice. Sometimes it's going to be bearing witness, like Joel Satari's photo art. Sometimes it'll be looking to the past to learn, like Walton Ford. Sometimes, like Andy Rosen's work, it's going to be about sympathy for species, environment, and others. Sometimes it'll be the ability to exist amongst the confusion, like Diane Fox's work. Other times it's going to be to find the poetic power of form, like Martin Puryear, Lori Nye, and Maya Lin. Sometimes it's going to be sitting with a stranger or a friend like Anne Gale's portraits, getting to know them and understand them, but just being with them. So maybe it will be like Albert Durr, that we'll be sitting and looking and wondering in amazement at the ground at our feet, remembering that each turn of attention to making and viewing can bear witness, a chance for us to express sympathy, promote repair and stewardship, to value things and beings. These images we make are messy and unruly, but we need them. In fact, we need them like a good blues song to stay with the trouble. And what you do in each and every day is important. Thank you again to the Florist Artist Group and for this opportunity to speak with you.